Hold on to your hats as we bring you a tale of corruption, love, murder, international crime and great heroics. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of modelling. Different about Farmington? That's right, Farmington now has a sky. Now this is what is known in the trade as a cyc. It's made of 8x4 sheets of hardboard screwed to a wooden frame and painted with blue emulsion paint. Now what that does is let us control our lighting conditions very, very easily. And so, after weeks of hard work, blood, sweat and tears, our 400 square foot model we're building here at the Bluebell Railway is complete, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. But what about the members of our cast, the little people of Farmington, who have become as familiar to us as members of our own family? Perhaps now would be a good time to recap our story. It all started a few weeks ago, one dark night in a little lay-by not very far from here. Wade, the local GP, or Butcher Wade as he was found murdered. The local CID were baffled, but one person had seen all, Sid Plummet. Clearly terrified of what he had seen, he slipped away into the night. The only person he could trust was Rose Bean. Now Rose Bean is a little old lady who just happens to be a former double agent. Now Rose is good. In her prime she would have made James Bond look like Wendy Craig. Anyway, Sid pops around to see her, but Rose is not there. And what's more, Sid was being followed. Meanwhile, Rose, having found a note from Sid, arrives at his house only to find the place has been firebombed and Sid is missing. Elizabeth Downing, or Liz as she's known to her friends, is the wife of Anthony Schooner MP. She's lovely. Recently, Anthony Schooner has been spending a lot of time up in the offices of Dr. Beeching in London, discussing the demise of the railway. You see, in his mind, if he can get all these railways shut down around here, he's probably in for a knighthood, so that's another reason not to like him. We shall continue our story and, more importantly, the tour of our completed model in a bit. But first, have a look at this. The model trams built by John and his friends are quite simply stunning. John put this test track together just for us, but he's planning something much more ambitious when he gets the time. The trams pick up a 24-volt power supply from the overhead copper wire, the other side of the circuit being made up by the track via the wheels, exactly like the real thing, but just 16 times smaller. So John, this is one of the original models that sort of kick-started this whole genre of model making. Now, when was this made?
Indeed, it's one of the earliest. It was constructed in about 1932 by a gentleman called Richard Elliott, who worked in Chalton Works where the trams were constructed, and he actually built this model as the prototypes were being constructed.
Wow, so he was working off the plans, and while it was being constructed he was knocking one up himself, a scale model of it.
Which is why he got a vital bit wrong.
What did he get wrong then?
Well, he got what we call the vestibule screens around here totally wrong, because the plans were correct, but at the last minute they changed the design.
Now, where would this have run?
Well, that one's called an HR2. HR means hilly route. They were used particularly on Dog Kennel Hill, Dulwich.
Oh, I know, very, very steep.
That's right.
So that's why you want the HR, the hilly route. This is the sort of 20s, is it, we're looking at here? These, what era would these have been?
The ones up there, the E's, were built in 1907, 1908.
There's something quite special about this one, isn't there?
This model was repainted by probably one of the finest modelers who's ever lived, Frank Roach. That's all hand painted.
So even everything on the sides, even the poster, that's all hand painted. All the lettering, the news of the world. So there's no transfers. Everything is done by.
We find that even inside, there's advertisements on the bulkheads at the end.
There is. There is. Wessex Motors for every make of car. Let's have a little look over here, John. Now, what on earth is that? I've never seen. You've got lots of trams. I've never seen anything like that.
Well, that's a rail grinder.
What's that do then?
Well, it was used to smooth out the unevenness in track. You actually lowered onto the track 2 flat carborundum plates.
Oh, they're like grinding stones.
Like grinding stones.
You do chisels on and
Yes.
So that'd be screeching on, making a horrible noise.
Yes, and I'm going to ask Tony up there
Go
to
on,
drive
Tony,
it off
take it
for us.
away. I'll tell you what, when these things were running, coming round at night, presumably they went round at night, did they?
That's right.
I bet they were popular. Now, just to prove that none of these are kits, this is John's new project. I mean, it's all made out of plywood, very fine plywood. I'm just going to lift the top off here so you can have a look inside at the detail. It's absolutely extraordinary. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you the door. This is just one door from the tram, and it's made from very fine panels of ply, and even the door handle's been bolted through it. It's got real glass that came from photographic plates. And everything is scratch built, and it shows when you look at the finished thing, which is this thing here. I mean, even the benches upstairs, because trams run in both directions to stop people feeling sick. When they get to the end of the journey and they're going the other way, they flop the seat backs back. Look at that. Now, John's not alone in his hobby. Tony, you're a big fan as well, aren't you?
Afraid so, yes.
Now look at this.
Yes.
I mean, it's a curious tale how you started to model this scale.
Yes, well, years ago, the only motors available were these 50-volt motors. Because of the size of the motor, the truck had to be that size to accommodate the motor.
So that defined what scale and gauge you're going to work in.
Exactly.
But look at these. I mean, this is fantastic.
Well, it's a copy of the real thing, which was built for No. 1 tram, which was a modern tram for London. It's one of the few that had chain drive.
So how do you do the wheels? I mean, it's all
turn them on a lathe,
and everything is sprung. The thing that impresses me, Tony, is that the brakes work on this. So you can actually apply the brakes from inside the cab. Look at this. Now you push it along like that, and then in the cab you could pull the brakes on. Look what happens now. That's with the brakes. Now this is one of my favourites.
It's a car that I fell in love with because it's the most modern car that London Transport had. It was built in 1932. By Londoners for London.
There's a couple of gadgets on here that I really like. For example, have a look at this. Look at this. Hey.
Well, I've used a little bit of bits and pieces from a radio control kit and a couple of relays and some batteries.
That is fantastic. Oh, I'm making it work with a little magnet.
A little magnet, yes. And there's a reed switch underneath there. The magnet closes the switch and operates the circuit.
Right, go on, hurry up, go on, get them up there. Now this one, I was in India a little while ago and I saw something very similar to this.
Yes, well it was probably the last tram that London Transport ever built. It was a service car, and very shortly after it was built, London Transport was closed down. And this was shipped out to India.
Well, it's actually a very, 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 very interesting story about this. Can't go on about it too much, but it does involve a Canadian diamond mine, a burnt-out Dutch tram, and a very famous American starlet. It is a fascinating story. It's a brilliant model.
Thank you.
I like it a lot. It's a mystery to me why more of this isn't going on in people's gardens. Sid is still alive. Rose has received another note from Sid and has arranged to meet him in the sleepy fishing village of Gobsmouth. In a quiet corner of the smuggler's elbow over a pint of farmer's ale, Sid explains to Rose that on the night of the murder there was a second man in Dr. Wade's car. He whispers the name of that man to Rose and she can scarcely believe what she's hearing, but who trusts no one that she will not go to the police. While all this has been going on, it seems that Schooner is in league with a rather dubious road contractor called Chubby Riley, who's just been given the contract to build a motorway that will slice through the picturesque valley. The local planning officer mysteriously drops dead in front of new GP Jack Sparrow, only to be replaced by Venesatora, who happens to be having an affair with Schooner. And there's more! A secret nuclear reactor is being built underground, and one of the locals is selling what he believes to be radioactive waste to the Andorrans, who have a driving ambition to enter the nuclear arms race. And amongst all that activity, Schooner has secretly bought the old tin mine. About a week's gone past now, and up on the hill there is a lot of activity. An archaeological dig has started, which pleases Liz, who has begun a torrid affair with an archaeologist called Ben Kelly. It annoys the hell out of Chubby Riley though, because it's right in the way of his motorway, so he rocks up with some heavies. Ben then goes missing. Liz goes looking and survives being pushed off a cliff thanks to Rose. And right now, the pair are planning to investigate the old gunpowder mill, where Liz reckons she saw her husband enter the night before. But they are being followed. Blimey, you keeping up with all this? Throughout the series we've shown you a variety of different modelling techniques, and before we finally leave you to get on with it by yourselves, we thought we'd show you a few shortcuts that may appeal to the less intrepid modeller. This is Tim from On Tracks, and you've brought with you some lovely things which can cut your modelling time significantly, haven't you, Tim?
Sure have.
Let's start here. What is this wonderful thing here?
Okay, this is a complete railway in a box.
Railway in a box. What's it made out of?
It's simple, lightweight plastic.
Wow, so what do you get with a railway in a box?
Okay, you get this scenic layout board with the grass already sprayed on. You get an aluminium stand and legs, and you get a track plan along with track, a locomotive, coach, controller, everything you need to get started.
The whole lot?
Yep.
So you get this on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, it's all finished and the kids are playing with the box out in the garden, and you're left with a nice railway to play with.
You get to play.
Now this comes straight out of the box as well, doesn't it, Tim?
Yeah, that's right. It's a single component demonstrating some of the scenery you can put together on your own railway.
Now you can buy all the separate pieces individually, like this viaduct section here. The first thing you notice about it is how incredibly light it all is.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a foam plastic. It's designed so you can cut it with a knife, you can amend it with a file, even with a hairdryer you can warm it gently and curve it.
Now what else have we got here? What's these chappies here?
Okay, roadway on a roll.
Roadway on a roll. This is weird, it's actually textured.
Yep, that's right. It's printed onto heavy duty paper, and you get a range of surfaces from cobbles to road, tarmac. You can even get transfers to make it look like you've got parking spaces on it.
So you've got guttering and you've got your pavement, everything.
And a number of different manufacturers make it, so you can get a wide range of different shapes and sizes.
Oh, that would have saved us hours. That's good. Well, and the other thing I like a lot is this here stuff. This is your track underlay.
Yeah, this is my favourite one for time saving. You get a lot of people who recommend a foam underlay. It makes the track quieter, it makes them smoother. Problem is it's not terribly realistic, so this stuff has stone spray glued onto the top of the track.
God, that would have saved us hours and hours and hours and hours. Here's something that I really like that was hiding in the very bottom of Tim's bag of special things. Now, if you're familiar with the members of the cast, these are very similar figures, but these are the X-rated version. I can't actually show you the contents of the box because it would be a very different program if we did, and you'd probably be paying extra for it on your cable package. Well, I think you can follow the out for yourself. And we've got a lot of bed and breakfast and hotels in Farmington, so I think we'll have well 30 or 40 of each. They're lovely. So also, what I happened to notice over here is that you had standing up grass. Now, how do you get standing up grass?
It's another special plastic. This one is designed to be static.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's weird. That feels like a mouse's head.
It comes in a range of colours, unlike the mouse.
Look, can we see how it works?
Sure. All you need, puff a bottle. So remember, you sneaked into your mum's room when you were a young kid and got a talcum powder and squirted it all over the house?
Oh yeah.
Same concept with this. Give it a bit of a shake to give it a charge.
Bit of wood, PVA on it.
Upend it, and you simply puff it on.
Oh, look, there it goes, and it's standing upping already.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually standing up.
Yeah, even already, and with a few more applications, you'll get a real thick, accurate looking grass.
So all labour saving ideas, very quick. If you've got the money to spend, bish bash bosh, off you go.
Yep.
So, do you want to know what happened? I will reveal all after this. We're here at the Keighley Model Railway Club, and we're about to show you something which I think is very, very special. This is Runswick Bay. And for once in my life, I'm going to keep my mouth shut for a couple of minutes and let the model do the talking. I'm in. Finally, I'm here. Now, Robin, this is absolutely an exceptional piece of work. It really is. Tell me what's the whole idea behind Brunswick Bay?
Well, the concept behind this one was the Keithley Group have always been exhibition modellers to entertain the modeller as well as the general public. And the previous layouts we've made were usually quite large, high-speed trains, centre of attraction at most exhibitions. The idea of this one is the railway's purely incidental. We've modelled this for scenery, which is our forte, we'd like to think now.
So part of the original concept is it would go from day to night and then back to day. So can we have a look at that in operation?
Yes, certainly.
And there you go. That's the night.
So it's a totally different layout in the evening. That's the only time during an exhibition hall when you can actually see the interior of all the buildings and the detail within them.
And the thing about this layout, there is a view through every window and through every street. There is something happening, isn't there?
Yeah, so if you think about it, it actually doubles the size of your layout, because most people model what you would see externally to the buildings, but if you model the interior of most buildings, you've got a much greater area to put detail into. It doubles the amount of work you have to do, but again, it's a different concept. If you've got the night scene, if you can cut out the main lighting in your room, the interiors of the buildings will stand out.
So Robin, give us a quick tour of Brunswick Bay.
Yes, well, here we are in the High Town, the more modern part of Brunswick Bay. We're stood just behind the main part of the shopping town here, the Victorian town. To our right there's the woodworks and the ironstone mine. To our left is the station along the High Town, and then we fall down into the Old Town. Originally it was a seaport. There was no railway obviously when that was developed, and that covers most of the older pan-tile cottages and things.
So I mean, all these different things are incredibly detailed. The good thing about it, from everywhere you look, there's another little alleyway that leads you here, and it's just like a real town, isn't it?
If you visit the North Yorkshire coast, half the fun, particularly for the children, is to race around the back alleyways that were there, you know, from the 16th, 17th century, and play hide and seek and so on, and it's a real rabbit warren. Around
the back, where the bay is, a lot of the things are just at kids' eye level. So I mean, I bet they spot things before the grown-ups do.
That again is part of the concept. That the public will stand at the level we're standing and look at the general baseboard level, 33 inches above ground. But children at 2.5, 3 feet high see it from a totally different angle. And round in the Old Town, the baseboards are only 18 inches from the ground due to the height of the viaduct crossing the valley there. And of course, the children see totally different things to their parents. And of course, once the child sees it, they drag the parent's arm down to that level, and of course the parents see something different then, something they've never seen before, and that again expands the layout.
It is a really, really magical layout, isn't it?
Well, we've certainly never seen anything else like it attempted, but it took us a lot of buildings from some highly skilled modellers.
And how long did it take to make all this?
Well, we say 5 years for 5 people. There were 5 very highly skilled modellers who had worked together before, but towards the end it was almost full time for the 5 people, and we'd be very hard pressed to try the same again, I think.
It's absolutely staggering. It's a fantastic model. Robin, thank you so much for letting me see it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Let's have a look at the night scene again. So it's back to our story and our finished model. It turns out that Liz and Rose were being followed by Dr. Jack Sparrow, and he's got a gun. He ties them up in the old gunpowder mill, but it's not all bad news because they find Ben alive. Only thing is, he's tied up as well. I've been to a club a bit like that on the North Circular Road. Up at the nuclear reactor, it's time for the grand opening, and maverick scientist Dr. Welling is ready to reveal to the world his tin-powered reactor. Schooner is there as an invited member of the Select Defence Committee, and he's looking unusually smug. Back at the mill, one person has been watching all and feels it's now time to act. Sick Plummet, our visionary mushroom farmer and sole witness to the terrible murder, leaps through an open window to rescue our trio. Who would have guessed? The tin reactor is a complete and utter disaster and seems capable of creating little more than some strange noises and a small amount of rust. Schooner, who brought the tin mine to flog fuel to the reactor, is financially ruined. But hold on a minute, haven't we got a murder to solve? So, who did kill Dr. Wade? It was Schooner. You see, many weeks before, Schooner had let slip his plans in a chloroform stupor after unexpectedly coming to during another bungled minor operation carried out by the hapless GP. As he unbuckled the delirious MP from the operating table, Wade realises his chance of enhancing his pension by blackmailing Schooner. Schooner's hatred of Wade is compounded by the fact he now has to wear French support, now sadly unavailable on the NHS. And it turns out that Sparrow wasn't a doctor at all, but Schooner's ambitious private secretary, who, seduced by his own greed and a burning desire to carry a small bag of medical instruments, followed Schooner's every dastardly command. So what happened to them all? Well, the road was never built following a public inquiry, and Ted Rabbit still runs the Ace Cafe to this day. Believe it or not, Sid is now a management consultant. Rose was made a dame for unspecified work for the civil service. She died on her 100th birthday, having replied to the Queen's telegram in a scrambled shortwave radio transmission. Liz and Ben are now married and enjoying their dotage excavating Mayan ruins. Now, I know it doesn't seem just, but next spring, the disgraced Anthony Schooner will be due for parole. And to this very day, Andorra still believe that they are a nuclear superpower. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Farmerton!